HMO Sobbies, welcome to another edition of 30 with Tony. Don't you know you are the bossest? We are really going to make it hurt today, so hit it, you overbearing, domineering, egg-sucking dogs.
Well, hi, Kemosabies. It's Tony D'Angelo. It is July 24th, 2025, 3 p.m. Eastern, Ada Domini in the year of our Lord. Welcome to another edition of 30 with Tony. I am so happy to have you. I'm so happy for all that you are doing in this universe. I'm so happy for all of your great work and all of the various endeavors you are involved in to enhance the flow of Americanism and to stop the flow of communism and socialism, like we talked about this past Tuesday on the Lee Elsey show. It's devastating, folks. It's absolutely positively devastating, coupled with the fact that the political establishment really has no idea and or does not have the perspective or the vision or the courage to confront what they're about to run into. It's really, really, really incredibly. I just can't. I just can't really tell you about it. It's just such a devastating mess. Sorry, I just had a technical adjustment there I had to make. Every week I try to get this a little bit better, and when you are your own production engineer, you can't really blame somebody for something that you yourself have done. But that all said, I want to look at something else today. The title of our show segment, if you will, this is going to be a one show segment, and it's called "You Are Not for Sale." You are not for sale. But yet, politicians and those that are in the legitimate establishment are always trying to sell you. My Holy Bible talks about the churches making merchandise of people. In other words, selling them and selling what they are for the sake of gain and profit of those that are selling it. And I want to impress some things on you today, if I can. Grateful to you, grateful to our music contributors. I think we've got some incredibly boss music pieces today. And we do have a film review coming up. Good movie, kind of a program flick made in the late 40s, 1950s, but a lot of good, gritty stuff in it, but not getting away from the main subject of "You Are Not for Sale." It troubles me when those that are in the political universe want for you to believe that they are out for your good, when really you have to ask yourself, why are they doing this? And every single time something takes place, not to say every politician or President Donald Trump or anybody in any state is inherently good or evil, you really have to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? And is this fair? Is this right? Does this enhance my daily living? Is this useful to me? Or is this all done for another purpose? Now, you know me. You know me, those of you that have watched me, those of you that I am ever so grateful, the multiple thousands of people who have listened over the years on the Lee Elsey Show and some of the national shows that I've been on. And here, I am furious about the fact of data being used for, malicious purposes or personal purposes. I am not the shall I say, healthcare professional or scientific professional as far as getting into the use of personal DNA for various nefarious purposes, but I know it exists. I know it's out there. I talk to people who have studied this, who are on this daily, who are prosecuting this, doing their best to prosecute and hold politicians accountable for this to the fullest extent of the law. We've been through the whole Boston Consulting Group identity theft issue with the COVID contract that was signed in Connecticut, which completely escaped the, shall we say, either escaped the limited perspective or limited intelligence or limited understanding of the then and some now Connecticut politicians, or none of them, when they saw the fact, when I gave them the contract and I put it on Facebook and I put it on Twitter and I referenced the positions and the language that's there, none of them called for prosecution. None of them called for the accountability of the state government involved. It's sickening. It's absolutely, positively sickening. Now, me, myself, and I looked at it from what I call a practitioner standpoint. I don't know DNA from a BMW, but what I do know is that if you take my taxpayer information and if you take my personal financial information and you use this for another purpose, you can and should go to jail. And our state government in Connecticut did this en masse, did this to every single person in the state. It's documented. It's there. I've proven it. No one in the state has ever come out and said, Tony, this is wrong. Stop disparaging us, because they know they did it, and I've got the documents. And that's sickening. That's your children's precious information if you want to pretend this doesn't exist. And that's really the crux of what I'm going to talk about here today. When politicians get a hold of your information for their profit, for their benefit, and no one holds them accountable, that to me is something that is as serious or more serious than, the Russia hoax. Not that the Russia hoax was not and is not serious, or the Epstein list. Not that the Epstein list is unserious or something to be tossed away with. I disagree there with Mike Gallagher. I do agree with Lee Elsey. Let it all hang out. That's what we wanted to see in this election of Donald Trump. And oh, yes, I'm not a registered Republican. But that all said, what fries me, what is much more critical to me, is the misuse of my personal substance and personal information. And it should be to you as well. Where your kids' health records and where your kids' genetic information goes is a lot more critical to you, dear parent, than the Epstein list. They want you to believe that the Epstein list has an effect on you. And yes, to some effect it does, but not nearly as much as what we're going to discuss today. And the disgusting thing is that I don't see politicians, by and large, we're going to look at that in a moment, championing this as, quote unquote, a front burner issue. It needs to be. It needs to be for a number of reasons. Okay, so let's get down, let's get dirty, and let me show you, as they used to say in the 60s, I'm going to show you where it's at. We're going to share the screen here a little bit. And I'm going to blow this up for you if I can. Some of this is review. Some of this is present critical mass. What I'm showing you here is a Senate summary. Some of this was overwritten of the One Big Beautiful Bill, H.R. 1. And we've talked about the varying aspects of the One Big Beautiful Bill. It didn't hit a lot of things, and I'm going to show you one thing it missed by 10,000 miles. But it hit some very good things and some incredibly good economic things. I was talking to one of my clients yesterday who's a younger man who is really, I would call him a sane Democrat, certainly not a Trump fan. And he was telling me two things that were, very critical to him and his life, and very, very, very partner in a New York law firm. And he was saying that, tax attorney, he is amazed at the economic provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill and the really neat stuff that's going on. It'll completely escape the Connecticut Republican Party. Forget about the Connecticut Democrat Party or the Demo-Commie wing of the Connecticut Democrat Party. It'll completely escape the advanced CT. CBIA may say something here or there, but they'll get somebody to do a website. You won't see any development. You won't see any constructive change. But that was the first thing he said. The second thing he said to me is, I got to get the hell out of New York City should New York City turn socialist, and it's looking increasingly like it might. So these are, quote unquote, what we're dealing with today. I'm not concerned about politics, politicians, ideologies, socioeconomico, politico, religioso, probonistico, stupido stuff. Hey, I said that right. I am concerned about nitty gritty things that affect you. But let's talk about information. Can I get a sip of tea if you don't mind? And here in this summary, I go to seminars. I read. I try to be a better professional every single day. I try to be. Maybe I'll make it someday. But, and that's a life lesson. Never, ever, ever stop learning what you're doing. Never, ever, ever stop and trying to do something better. No one has the magic bullet. The perfect vacuum has not been made. Okay. No extra charge for that. This is section 7615 in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And in this section, let me just say this, when all of these idiots and gas bags and fools were talking about the House proposal going to the Senate, and they were talking about it on Twitter and calling up radio and stuff and saying, oh, look at what the House did. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. Oh, whatever. They're sending me stuff. And I'm pretty much had to tell people, it's like, none of this matters. What happens is, what matters is when the Senate comes back to the House. Now, normally you have something called a conference committee, and the Senate and the House talk, and they say, well, we want this, we don't want that, and there's negotiation. But since they were under the gun to get this done by July 4th, largely due to their own stupidity and largely due to their own mismanagement and largely and I have to say it, the Trump administration being unfocused about this until they really needed to be focused and barely got it out, thank God. But that all said, a lot of stuff didn't make the final cut. Now, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, whom I basically like and trust, he's got an incredibly tough job. Hear a lot of stuff about Johnson. You want his job? I don't want his job. But that all said, he said, look at some of the things that will pass and we'll catch up with some of these tax provisions. I hope so. One of the things I think they have to catch up with is this. When the House, there's something, let me just blow this up because this is good. This is quote unquote where I live a lot of these days in a workday. Section 7615 of the One Big Beautiful Bill had an increase in penalties for unauthorized disclosures of taxpayer information. Taxpayer information, anything having to do with you from a financial standpoint, whatever could identify you, your name, your date of birth, what you make, who you do, what your bank accounts are. Again, I don't know DNA from BMW. But that all said, the fine as it stands right now is $5,000 per abuse of each person. Now, that one guy whose name escapes me that was the contractor that sold all of the information to the New York Times and threw all of Trump's business in the street, which I said was nothing then, which I said was nothing now. There was nothing unusual. There was nothing dishonest. There were a couple of, shall I say, matters of interpretation, but no fraud, no malfeasance, no payoffs, none of that. Richard Neal, the congressman in Massachusetts, is a bleeping fool idiot making something out of nothing, and now he's got nothing, so he's crawled into the woodwork on that issue. Hey, Richie, why aren't you asking for the Trump tax returns now, right? I mean, after all, doesn't he want to be king? But that all said, when you look at this here, the House of Representatives did the right thing. They wanted this fine of $5,000 to go to $250,000 and 10 years in jail for each abuse. As far as I'm concerned, it could be 2.5 million in 100 years. I think you ought to be shot, quartered, drawn, and thrown in the streets for misusing information. A part of this is for real. A part of this is as a practitioner. That's what it'll do to me if I misuse my client's information. Why should freaking politicians have a double standard? Why should the entire Connecticut state legislature, Governor Ned Lamont, and everybody in the Department of Health who misused our client information during COVID, why aren't they subject to the same thing? I mean, the feds know about it. I hope they're going to do something soon as they're cleaning house. But that all said, leaving that aside for a moment, this was a step in the right direction and a step that needs to be out there. Anybody, back to Donald Trump and his business being thrown in the streets. Why didn't the publishers, the New York Times, why weren't they indicted? Because they too were, proliferating the misuse of taxpayer information. One notable President Donald Trump. That all said, let's come back to this. When, why don't we have these high penalties? When this provision got to the Senate, it was boom, boom, gone goodbye, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. And the problem was, given the time crush that was there, no Republican senator spoke in favor of it. But when they were dealing with the parliamentarian said, it's the bird rule. This needs to get a bird bath because we have to toss out anything that has, quote unquote, no fiscal impact. Now, to me, handing people $250,000 fines and throwing them in the clink, that's got a big financial impact, at least in some cases, but apparently they didn't. So it was gone. And this was the time crunch. And this was the mismanagement. And this is what troubled me because we needed that provision. But still, look at it this way. Current law, which holds $5,000 per person. I don't have let me just see here. I'll be my math illiterate person. $5,000, and if I multiplied that by 3,500,000, 3.5 million people in the state of Connecticut. I don't know if I can count all these zeros. Let's see. That's 1,000. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, and I'll read you the number: 1,750,000,000. Okay, you mathematicians can do it, but really, that's the fine the people should have paid. Of course, they can't pay it. Nobody has that much money for misusing the information of Connecticut citizens. Not only that, but I went to my legislators. I said, you should pay for identity monitoring for every single one of these people who had their identity scarfed by the Boston Consulting Company. Because right after that, every breach in Connecticut, how many times did Yale get breached? How many times did the Department of Health get breached? And they never told you. All happened after Boston Consulting. And it's all documented and it's all there. But basically, they want to go on and pretend that none of this stuff happens. And you got to ask yourself why. If you're watching this, wherever you are watching this, Connecticut legislators are a lost cause people in Congress, but these are things that your congressperson needs to know. And these are things that need to stay in because we've got to stop the abuse of information for political and financial purposes. This is not anything that is minor. I mean, one thing getting your identity stolen, but what about your DNA? What about something that's very secret to you that somebody uses against you and blackmails you? Anybody think of that? Certainly not a Connecticut Democrat or Republican. Anyway, when we get to abuses, by way of review, remember this? We talked about this. Just going to get a sip of tea. Drink that in. We speak of something called Unite Us. Unite Us is an equity holding of the Oak HCFT partnership, limited partnership, of which the governor's spouse, our governor, Ned Lamont, known affectionately on this show and by me on the Lee Elsey show and by others in the illegitimate media as King Governor Ned Lamont the Unaccountable, his wife, Ann Lamont, is an equity partner. And so she is busy selling equities and trading and being a good trader, and she is selling shares in something called Unite Us. And this is an interesting investment, if you will. Their job, if you go over to what they do, they are, quote unquote, a data organization where they want to, quote unquote, put all of the patient records on one tab. Now, understand something here. This is the spouse of a governor who had a chief of staff hand over all of the personal information in Connecticut to Boston Consulting Group and God knows who else. So their job is to take all of your information and sell to government that we are a consolidating entity. Now, if you go here, I'll blow this up a little bit for you if I can. Trying to get better with this. Thousands of government, healthcare, community-based organizations, agencies, socioeconomico, politico, religioso, probonistico, stupidos, and institutions of all sizes partner with Unite Us because of our robust technology, expansive network, and tenured people who support whole person care. This is, quote unquote, what they are selling, something called integrated care of social care solutions. Now, they are contracting with governments. They are in possession of citizen information, and it's not really clear to us. It's not really clear to me or to you what they're really doing with this stuff. They can tell you they're doing something, but they could be doing something exactly different. And they are not subject to the Connecticut ethics laws. In fact, the Connecticut ethics laws were written to, quote unquote, have this kind of loophole where a spouse of a elected official can own an equity who can trade in, quote unquote, the manufacturing, the merchandising of political and political information. Listen to me. Personal information will turn into political information, and they can drive a truck through it. Basically, that's what this is. Now, how did this come about? Is this organization involved in Connecticut? Well, I mean, you probably remember this, you probably don't. But even before we get into Connecticut, ask yourself something. Is there any sort of a firewall preventing Anne Lamott or her people from sharing this with the people in Connecticut before we even get that far? And you see what we're dealing with here. And you see with, quote unquote, the way the political system handles you and your information, they really don't give a rat's tail about what happens to you. But let's go over here. Maybe you remember this. Actually, I was over there, and I want to go to here. Remember the day, August 6, 2019. Remember the day. Why is that day significant? I'm going to scroll up here. Connecticut Hospital Association, another monolith nonprofit in Connecticut, totally exempt from freedom of information. I don't know if I could write a movie like this. My Lord, maybe we should make a movie plot or something. The thing that ate Connecticut. Spit it out because it didn't like it. Connecticut Hospital Association partners with Unite Us to launch a statewide network to address patients' social needs. Okay? Unite Us. The Connecticut Hospital Association deals in Unite Us. Now, look at it this way. If Unite Us came to the Connecticut government and said, we want to help you, even our sick and decrepit ethics department said, well, no, you can't. I mean, it's like Anne Lamott owns a shit. This is, no, you can't do it. But by cloaking it in this nonprofit, who knows? Who knows? Oh, yeah. And the holdings of this thing are, somewhere in the Cayman Islands. So, try to figure out who the owners of this equity are, right? I'm not going to know. Not going to tell you. Our stupid legislature 5 years ago, or actually our stupid news media, was writing articles as to there were legislators that were doing legislative stuff without masks. And meanwhile, they're just, they're doing stuff and who cares? It's basically it. This is the stupidity of the world we live in. But that all said, the Unite Us is dealing in the Connecticut Hospital Association. Again, they are getting into the whole person care, personal information, genetic information to kids for those of you that are scientific, financial information to parents for those of us that are non-scientific. And they talk about this partnership between Connecticut Hospital Association and Unite Us. Now, this Jennifer Jackson makes a really cool comment. This goes back a number of years, but the collaboration puts the patient first. With the Unite Us technology platform, Connecticut's hospitals and health systems, in collaboration with community-based organizations, will be better equipped to address patients' needs from a holistic standpoint. Yeah, thou worship that holy dollar. This is one example of how Connecticut hospitals and health systems are transforming healthcare and keeping our communities healthier. Okay, you get what's happening here. You get what's happening here. To review, Unite Us, a Lamont Equity. This is a momentary review. You got to keep this all straight in your head. Me too. And in other business wanting to get to the data of the state, they go ahead and they cloak this in a organization known as the Connecticut Hospital Association, another Connecticut nonprofit, and they have access to Connecticut citizen information that way. Understanding they took our information during COVID, we had nothing to say about it. We had nothing to do for it. Now, some of the things they have done over time is they go into the communities and they do things with dental support and health support, and aren't they wonderful, and grants and all sorts of things, and streamlining the whole person care. And do you ever hear one legislator, one person in government say, hey, this ain't right? You know, where is that information going? It's going to get another sip of tea. The genomic information that Sema4 took, where did that go? We forgot about Sema4, right? It went to Switzerland, went to a database. That's all we know. That's all they wanted to tell us. $250 a pop. The Lamonts owned that equity too. And nothing, no Republican ever pursued that. It's safe to say in Connecticut, no Republican ever seems to pursue anything. But basically, it's like, so what, right? They're doing whatever they want. Now, the Connecticut Hospital Association, another grant they got involved with here, the Waterbury Community Care Team. If you look you can look on Google, you can look on Grok, you'll see what they have done. And you'll see how they are working with the Connecticut Hospital Association to quote unquote make things better. But as they're going, in order to do what they do, they are mining personal information. Now let's look at their resources. Data back reports, huh? I didn't even plan to come over here. Ain't this something? Scaling outcomes. I'm just picking this out of the, actually, let me just reject all the cookies. Here's Bay Health in Delaware, launched an effort to address non-medical drivers of health as part of its patient care model. How do you do that? You do that by mining data. Bay Health has reduced ED readmissions. They've done all this wonderful stuff, but in doing that, they're picking up your data along the way. And you can look at other things that, quote unquote, how they go ahead. Let's look at the newsroom. Ohio's Benefit Bridge Program. They always do these wonderful things. You know, it's like undue medical debt. We save this money, but while doing this, we have this wonderful, hidden agenda that we ain't telling you about. Smarter user-centric capabilities to improve efficiency and the millions of individuals they serve. Now, Upgrade introduces seamless workflow integration, smarter funding, navigation, and robust automations to drive referral recommendations that as they take integrated care models to the next level. Unite Us, the nation's trusted technology partner for integrating health and community-based care, announced a comprehensive upgrade to its platform. This release introduces a powerful suite of new features and enhancements engineered to accelerate and simplify the process of connecting individuals with essential community-based services by streamlining and integrating workflows. Now, closer integration of screening ingestion from existing systems of record, EHRs, and case management systems into the resource and referral workflows to more accurately inform recommendations. Resource share capabilities, new workflow to curate. Curate's a big word. Highly tailored manual or automated resource lists, leveraging individual client screening results, thereby enhancing the precision, relevance, and impact of interventions. Who's got that information? Who's got that information? If you go over to here, owned by Oak HCFT, a family ownership, an attribution to Governor Ned Lamont. It is hidden in the Connecticut Hospital Association, and nobody says a bleeping word. You get the idea of what's happening here. You get the idea of, quote unquote, what they are doing to you. And where they're saying they're doing something for you, they're doing something to you. And you get the idea why I get very ticked off about something like that. Your data, you are not for sale, and you are not for sale. Now, when you actually look at, quote unquote, what goes on, this is the 990 PF of Connecticut Hospital Association, ending in the 23 year. This is the latest one I could get. Unite USA, which is that same organization, made $150,000 from the Connecticut Hospital Association, which is the dues which is paid by the hospitals, which comes from the revenues that you yourself, the patient, pay. You get the idea of how the money is laundered. And that's basically, so the Lamonts, Ned can look at you with that deer in the headlights look and say, oh, I don't deal with the state. Oh, I have an ethics plan. You can't find one thing where Unite Us has any direct bearing on the state. No, this is, quote unquote, a marvelous money laundering transaction. You go over to here and you have an equity which is owned, at least in large part, by a Cayman Islands secret offshore limited partnership, and then you bury it in a nonprofit organization which is completely exempt from Connecticut Freedom of Information. Like if I wanted to go to the Connecticut Hospital Association and I wanted to say, look, I want the records of, quote unquote, how many Connecticut people have had their data mined by, Unite Us. Of course, they couldn't give me the personal information, but they could say, oh, we have serviced, this many citizens and we cover this, and this. And you bet your bottom dollar that for every single thing they're covering, they're exploiting, you'd have an idea what they were doing, but they can look at me and stick their tongue out. Thank you, legislature, and say, I don't have to tell you nothing, D'Angelo. That's basically how sick this all is and how you get merchandise. But on top of that, they're going to pay this Lamont entity, and they're going to pay this through this Rube Goldberg Labrie transaction where, it's not the $150,000, which of course is not chump change. It is the fact that Connecticut data is being mined indirectly and directly by the people in power because they trivialize you. They trivialize your data. Now, there's something in Connecticut called the data privacy law. It is a freaking joke. We went through that on the Lee Elsey show. And they all went out. I think it was passed unanimously. Yeah, it was passed unanimously by the Connecticut. Oh, yeah, wonderful thing. We're protecting the data of people. Two big exempt organizations in this. Or I shouldn't say exempt organizations, exemptions. Number one, something called dark patterns, dirty web programming where somebody looking at a website can look to precise information and see who was there for what purpose and try to manipulate that and statisticize it. Certainly not for your benefit. The other thing that is exempt is the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut is purely exempt in the bill The whole cockamamie, cock and bull legislature says, oh, this is great. This is a protection for you. And the state can abuse and malign your data, much like they did with Boston Consulting, much like they did when they made nonprofits exempt from freedom of information. This is basically what you're dealing with. And I'm just going to review this one more time. The big, beautiful bill screwed up, didn't give us that big penalty we need. I mean, it's basically, it can't be big enough. I know they threw the guy in jail who abused Trump for 10 years. He should be there for 150 years on bread and water, as far as I'm concerned. Unite Us is cloaked in the Connecticut Hospital Association. They are involved in, quote unquote, a data management system, which is being used to collect data on Connecticut residents. We read all these wonderful things. We do not know the exact purpose of what they're doing and what they're mining and what kind of genetic engineering somebody is planning along the way. Because put it this way, what is to stop Unite Us, a Lamont Connected Energy, with GeneDx, the successor to Sema4, another Lamont connected entity, and who GeneDx owes something known as Centrellis, which is not owned directly by Sema4, should Sema4 or GeneDx go bankrupt, which is a distinct possibility, but is owned by Mount Sinai Genomics. And it is a treasure trove of all kinds of personal information where they trade this data to, quote unquote, do something or other against you and against your benefit. Nothing stops them from doing that. They will do wonderful things, or so they say. Oral health. Yeah, we're going to help the oral health of people, and we're going to do community care. But yet, as they're doing it, they're going to get their gas tank full by Connecticut dollars laundered through a nonprofit. It's an amazing thing, and I'm just going to close with that. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I honestly don't know what to tell you other than what I just told you. It's that we have a government, we have organizations in this state, basically Advanced CT, Connecticut Hospital Association, UConn Foundation, 4CT, doing the functions of government, stealing data along the way. In the case of the Connecticut Hospital Association, Unite Us, the data and the people in power, there is no firewall whatsoever. They can do whatever in the heck. They're not bound by anything. Are we going to look at Ned and Ann Lamont and say, well, you're ethical people, we are bound by your ethics, we believe in you? These are the same people that didn't tell you about Sema4, and then they started selling COVID tests to the state. I mean, that's basically what goes on here. And, again, I'll say it. If Ned Lamont runs for governor and you are a Republican candidate and you don't hammer him on this daily, I mean, don't waste our time. Don't waste our time. You deserve whatever is thrown at you in that regard. And don't give me this crap if I want to be bipartisan and I want to move on and all that other stuff. That has its place. But Connecticut citizens have been abused and their personal information has been abused, and their very substance information, core to their being, has been abused. And if you won't protect that, you're turkey. You are just a total and complete turkey, especially that of kids. Nothing was ever done. Nothing was ever looked at. Nothing was ever referred to with the respect of in respect of the genetic information of kids. No one in any party brought that up. So it's okay to abuse kids. I guess if you're going to do gender mutilation, what's a little genetic abuse? This is how sick it is, and this is what's really this is really what it comes down to. And oh yeah, I mean, maybe the best hope for Connecticut is, quote unquote, the Democrat Party exploding in a socialist wave, much like if you read Bob Swick's article on Saturday about the analogy to Hitler's generals trying to kill him. But in order for that to work, how World War II was won is you had Allied forces that were purposed in winning and taking advantage of that, shall we say, screw up and lapse. I don't know if we have that in Connecticut, regrettably. So I give you this: protect yourself, ask questions, expose people, embarrass them, give me the information. And when you give me information, give it to me in very simple terms, because I've got to explain this to others. I've had people become offended with me handing me treatises and calling me names because it's like, you don't see it? I said, no, I don't see it. And as a matter of fact, you can't prove it, and nobody else can, because they couldn't possibly understand it, even if you knew what the hell you were doing. Don't hand me stuff like that, basically. Hand me stuff I can use so that it's, what did the old Jewish guy Habakkuk say in the Bible? Write the vision, make it plain so you could run with it. Not make it complicated so you need to sit down and spend 4 hours to read it. God knew what he was doing. But then again, these people don't like God anyway. But God loves me and he loves you. And I, whether or not you love the show, that's up to you. It's Tony D'Angelo here on 30 with Tony. We're just going to do this one subject today. And I'm very, very, very grateful that you were here and to listen to it. You have to protect yourself, people. It's getting to where your government is getting stupider and more corrupt by the day. There's great stuff coming out of Washington. The people in Connecticut will do everything they can to stop it from reaching you. You've got to make yourself, quote unquote, go out and actually get it. Don't believe anything they tell you. In this state. I mean, that whole abuse of kids thing. I mean, this is a little bit off the page, but it troubled me, greatly. Of our Attorney General, William Tong, would not listen to the reports of Project Veritas for the abuse and the mutilation of children because it was Project Veritas. That's how sick it is. But yet this is a guy that would do whatever he could to protect an illegal alien. What do I need to tell you? These kinds of things cannot be accepted anymore. And you're here watching this show. I know you don't accept them. Whatever information I can provide to you in that regard to help you defend yourself, I'm doing a good thing. Again, we have a governor and spouse in this state who has access through this very complicated mess that we made simpler of your personal information, and it's being marketed, in part or in large part in tax-free jurisdictions for their financial benefit. What more can I tell you? Well, what I can tell you is we're going to be coming back with the show, the fun part, right after this.
This is the 47th president. Don't you think things would be better if we all made AOC bartend again?
HMO Sobbies. It's the Trickster. It's time for a 30 with Tony classic movie review. And here's Tony.
Thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. And every once in a while, I got to get back to my roots and watching movies. And I tend to like the really gritty 1940s, 1950s crime dramas with a lot of suspense and violence and gunfire and really, the tough talk and just the really where I like these movies, I think, is because I grew up watching a lot of them. Channel 5 in New York used to show them quite a bit. And also, I mean, these are the movies I would watch as a little kid in the projection booth with my father as he was running them. And also because they've got cause and effect. They have cause and they show you what is done to affect that cause and what you need to do in order to stop something from happening again. Now, when you see today, there are so many excuses that you see and you read and you look at of it's fascinating to me how people can explain away their incompetence. And not only that, but correct others in the fact of how dare you think about this of me? Don't you realize I deal with this, 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 and this? I mean, a great example of that is Andrew Cuomo or Gavin Newsom. Whatever hell has gone on in New York or California, very simple. I had nothing to do with it. Blame Trump. 2 words. And he will be a very convincing person to tell you that it's all Donald Trump's fault, but completely obviating the whole thing of cause and effect. Every problem has a cause, every solution has an effect. And it's simple as that, and it's just as difficult. Where you've got a lot of pandering, pontificating, touchy-feely nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, you have that in law enforcement today. And there's 1,000 reasons for that. A large part of it is what legislatures have done to police officers. And I think a large part of it is what police departments and police agencies have done to themselves. But I like when you return to your roots on something, because when you do, you find out a lot of things that you completely forgot about that worked, that somehow some idiot along the way thought didn't work anymore or needed to be changed. And then you find yourself in soup and it's like, how did I get here? Well, go back to the beginning and you'll find out where you went wrong. And many people don't have that kind of courage, and they don't fix what's wrong, and they live their entire lives being stupid, especially in government, and then they make others' lives miserable because of their own stupidity. But I got a good movie for you, and cause and effect and crime and grit and all that stuff I was just telling you about. It's called, I'm going to blow this up a little bit, Between Midnight and Dawn. It was made in 1950. The stars of this movie, let's just go here, some faces that will be familiar to you if you are an old movie watcher. Mark Stevens, actually going to move Tony D'Angelo's face out of the way here. Going to move his face down. I want you to see his, not mine. He was a familiar actor in films, going back to mostly crime films in the 1950s. Edmund O'Brien, who was in many, many, many films. He was in let's see, he was in White Heat. We have profiled White Heat on this show. He was also in The Bigamist. We have profiled The Bigamist on this show. He was also in, I'm trying to think of the title of the film, where he was dying of poison and he only had so much time to get to the hospital. Gail Storm, if you're an old-time TV fan, you know Gail Storm. She was My Little Margie. She also was a band singer, and she was sort of a darling of the era. Had a terrible drinking problem, drove her out of Hollywood, or actually drove herself out of Hollywood. But basically, this particular movie here is about 2 beat cops. And these are guys that would go into the streets to stop crime. They were Marine Corps veterans. So when they came back to the United States of America after surviving the Pacific in World War II. What type of kind, peaceful, self fulfilling job may I have that would make me feel good about the fact that I'm an American and I can stay out of trouble? Well, they decide to be beat cops in LA, and they deal with robbers, they deal with gunshots, they deal with social situations, they deal with all kinds of dirty, rotten things. And also, they're very interested in women. How about that? It's okay, guys. It's perfectly okay, regardless of what they tell you these days. And half of what they tell you don't listen to, the other half take with a box of salt, not a grain. But that all said, these guys are known as prowl car cops. They have a car, they have a black car that they go out with on night duty, and they get attracted to the voice of the radio operator. And it's really a neat thing because when they catch up with criminals, it's not any of this, touchy feely. Oh, your mother had a hangnail. Oh, you have social needs. Oh, did Unite Us collect the data on you? None of that. It's you're a criminal. You need to be punished. And believe me, we would have a much better world today if we had the world of you're a criminal and you need to be punished after your due process, of course. But anyway, look at it this way. We talked about Michael Bloomberg last week, right? Michael Bloomberg was probably in his first term a better mayor than Rudy Giuliani. And he ran as a Republican. And basically, that's lost to history because he wants you to forget that he instituted stop and frisk. Stop and frisk and broken windows stopped a lot of crimes, again, cause and effect, from ever taking place in New York. But that all was racist. And when Bloomberg saw that, gee, my empire is going to crumble because of this, he did not have the Donald Trump courage and went back to his empire and started pointing the fingers at the Rudy Giuliani's and the Donald Trumps. Terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do. And I don't think if you want to forgive him, you forgive him biblically, but watch this man very carefully because he showed no courage or intestinal fortitude in doing that. And now what we have is on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, there is a better than equivalent chance that the mayor of New York will be a man named Mamdani the Commie, who basically hates America. That's where you end up. But when you have a movie like this and you look back and say, that's the way to do it, that was how to fix things, you saw exactly what they needed to do it. And it wasn't high technology and it wasn't anything sophisticated. It was, let's find the criminal, let's punish the criminal, and let's get on with the affairs of the day and let's keep working at it. And it's this plot has sort of a sad twist. I won't share that with you, but to a large extent, remember, the more things stay the same, they never change. I didn't say that exactly right. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But it's the same sixes and sevens. When you're dealing in quote unquote things that are bad, there's only one devil. There's only one devil. He's only got so many tricks, but he's been playing the same thing all the years he's been doing it. And it's just a little bit of a different flavor. Where I like these old movies is you go and you look at them and you see exactly what was done 4 years ago, and then you learn something that you can use today. Now, the poster here, I really like. It's really colorful. And there's a technical issue. And actually, let's go back to the actual screen. And it's the artwork in these things is really unbelievable. When I was a kid, I wanted to hang these things all over my room. My father was working in the theaters, and it was in that package again, as I've said, called The Picture, and they all had to go back with the picture. And I can buy these posters today. I can hang them all over the studio. I don't want them. I wanted them then, and my heart was broken. But look at that beautiful artwork. So the movie, which we're about to see the trailer on, Between Midnight and Dawn, the rough life of street cops in Los Angeles in the 1950s, starring Mark Stevens, Edmund O'Brien, and Gail Storm, and some of the other character actors you would recognize. This was released in October 1950. Neat little flick. 89 minutes. Just turn your mind off and have some fun looking at the way things were years ago and actually a time when cause and effect really worked. Let's watch the trailer.
That's our baby.
Dan,
Hey, what are you doing here?
where's Rocky, Dan? What happened to him? What happened to him?
Rocky,
Hey,
wait.
Kate, what are you doing? Working overtime?
Rocky. Rocky, I thought you were hurt.
A long and happy life together, the three of us.
Hey, that sounds a little crowded, doesn't it?
Please don't love me, but if you love me,
We find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree.
Stay in town, baby. Don't go nowhere. Just stay put. Hey, coppers. Don't sleep too good. I'll get you, so help me, I'll get you.
What do you want, anyway?
Richie Garris.
Well, that's more than I want. Go find him. You're welcome to him.
I'll find him. Because you're going to tell me where he is, or so help me, I'll tear your head off.
The building is surrounded. We'll give you 30 seconds to open the door.
The kid's coming with me! You start throwing bullets, she gets them too! Disappear! And the kid's going down!
My baby! He'll kill my baby!
well, come on, let's go, little darling, and tell me that you never leave me. Come on, let's go, again and again. Well, now swing me all the way down there. Come on, let's go, little darling, let's go again once more. Well, I love you so, dear, and I'll never let you go. Come on, baby, so. Oh, pretty baby, I love you so. Let's go, little sweetheart, and then we can always be together. Come on, let's go again. I love you so, dear, and I'll never let you go. Come on, baby, so. Oh, pretty baby, I love you so. Let's go, little darling. Where that's we belong, dear. Come on, let's go. Again and again and again. Again and again and again. Again and again and again.
This is the real Donald Trump. Aye, not a cheap fake. Isn't it good to watch 30 with Tony?
This game of Kemosabe's, thanks for staying with us. I've got a story for you. A man is really excited about his priest in church, and he went to his friend. He says, I got the coolest priest in the world. He's really something. He's great. He's entertaining. And on top of that, he plays the guitar. And his friend said, far out, man. That makes him a Judas Priest. It's Tony D'Angelo here on 30 with Tony. Thanks, Kemosabe's. Thanks for staying with us. Be sure to see me next week here on 30 with Tony, Tuesdays on The Lee Elsey Show, 94.9, and occasional snippets on Patriot TV. God bless you all. Have a great week and weekend. So long.
Thank you.